then first I'll say welcome everybody. And second I'll say this has been the craziest day ever. Here's what happened. I was all prepared. I was going to do painting number 75, which is the Hebrew Free Loan Society, which was one of the biggest things that affected my painting life. And I put on the dining room table, not one folder, but two thick folders of information on them. I did the board members at board meetings. I've got pencil sketches of them. I mean, it is such a thorough bunch of information. But there's no way I was going to do that without calling some of the people in it who I was going to talk about. But then I checked my cell phone, and look what happened.
Oh, I'll show everybody.
That is where the...
Ooh.
That's when I have to dial people. Now I can call people who are already programmed in. But this goes back to 2019, which is a lot of years ago. I didn't even have a cell phone then. So here is what happened. I shrugged and I said to myself, then I'm going to spend the time with this painting. And hopefully my new phone is going to be ready soon, because this one has been falling apart very gently. Okay? So let me begin right now. 1 minute while I get my computer right.
And if you want my help.
Wait. Kenny's working on...
Tell me if you want me to help.
Okay, wait. You know what? If I don't put my glasses on, nothing's going to work. Thank you. Okay.
Meanwhile, while you're doing that, I will tell you that Joe Tripp says hello, and he says the sound is great. And Eileen Cutler says hello, and Paula Lakshan says hi everyone. And JT says hugs from California. And Marcia Goldstein-Graber says, I love you, dear Hedy. And Eileen says, we love Hedy and Kenny, just saying. We love you too.
So deeply. Okay, let me begin with Ed Weidman in this, okay? Because I have to begin at the beginning. You know, Eric had a frame shop, my husband, and they used to bring needle points in for him to frame. And my life is so much like the back of a needle point. There are all these little knots and threads of different colors, and you can't make sense out of them. And then when it's framed, when you see the front, everything has a purpose. And I really think my life has been like that. Okay? Because how did I get to meet Ed Weidman? Many, many years ago, my son Kenny decided that he was going to go to college in New Paltz. And that has led to the powerful thread of Ed Weidman. Because he met Paula, he met Eileen, people who were to become part of my life. And they're all people who live with computers and technology, which I don't. And suddenly they sent a picture of me painting the Plaza Hotel. Somebody from Sweden sent it to find out if anybody knows this woman painting the plaza. And Eileen immediately sent it to Ed, and I got to meet Ed that way. And Ed gave me a gift, and I gave him a gift, because both of us have always, each with their own medium, wanted to learn about who they were photographing, in his case, and me, the human being who I was drawing. And we met for quite a few weeks on Wednesdays and decided I was going to draw him without having to stop until I got it finished. And he was going the same thing, with photographing me and asking me questions. And we did that. So I am now going to show you the finished drawing, because in a sense it really began with I can't find it now, so let me tell you something else.
Meanwhile, let me just say that the photographer from Sweden, Kent, is here right now in Sweden this early in the morning, and he says, "Hi, Hedy."
Oh,
Yes.
you don't know what a chain you began. And when you come here, I'm going to draw you and give you the drawing to keep, okay? And maybe, if this painting is still not finished, I can paint you into it. Okay? Okay, now, let me go back to this. My other son, Greg, who married my son Ken, and therefore became my son, he doesn't speak much. He's quite shy. But when you get him alone and you ask him questions, his answers are amazing. And what he did for me, I was very unhappy about the politics and of my country right now. And I told him I was going to ask people why they believe what they believe. And here's what he said to me. He said, "But you have to listen. If you don't listen, you can't hear." And what I began to do because of it, I took myself out of center space and put myself on the side and tried to hear different languages. And I did. I went to a block party, and one of the wonderful people on that block opened up her toilet for everybody in the party. And when I went to use their restroom in their home, in their basement, there was a cutout figure of my mortal enemy in politics. And I began to think, do I have the courage to ask them? And I knew I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I accept them for being these generous, wonderful people who helped create this wonderful block party, in which all the people were represented who that figure, the political figure, spoke against. So I have decided I'm going to learn. And one thing I learned was that if you really draw somebody the way Ed allowed me to draw him, you get to see what a human being really is. My grandchild One day came to live with me for a little while. And an 18-year-old young man, and I was in my 80s at that time, have different lives. And he explained it in a way that made me know everything has a wonderful explanation. He said, Grandma, the reason you and I don't get along in living together is this. When you wake up in the morning, you have planned the day. When I wake up in the morning, I want to know what the day will allow me to learn and do. So I cannot wake up and tell you what I'm going to do. The day will decide that for me. When he drove me home, he always went a different way. He wanted to learn everything in the area. I, on the other hand, went crazy because I didn't think we'd get there in time. And this is the miracle, what I am learning as we go along. And now I also learned that I have to put my glasses on and show you the finished picture, which Ed showed me. This isn't helping me any.
Do you want me to take a look?
Yes.
What am I looking for? An email from him?
Because it would be the earliest or the last email. The last email would have the picture.
Sure.
And in the meantime, let me talk about other people, okay?
Yes.
I can come back to that after Kenny discovers everything for me. It's a finished drawing. Okay, so let's go to other people, okay? By the way, here's Ed and his camera.
Should I?
You found it?
No, I'm going to show Ed. Where is Ed?
Over here. Oh,
Yes,
okay.
with his camera.
Okay. You know, I promised Kenny I would have everything ready. The trouble is, your finger touches something on a computer and everything disappears. That's it. Kenny, you're wonderful. Also, he made tapes, and I've been able to play a few of them already. It took Greg hours and hours to make it so that it can be in my computer. But what I have decided, this is not going to be what I originally wanted it to be. I have done 92 paintings of New York, plus so many sketchbooks filled with people. But my grandchild drove me when he knew that I couldn't drive anymore and that I wouldn't be able to go to New York anymore by car, where I could park anywhere and people would gather around me and they would all say, would you put me in there? And I would. That joy is gone forever. So he drove me to the closest, which is in my Long Beach boardwalk area. And there were all these trucks, food trucks. And I began, and people came over. And that was going to be the painting. Until suddenly, all the trucks disappeared. Not only did they disappear, but there is no place for them anymore in Long Beach. Kenny, my photographer, thank you. Should I turn it a little more to you?
No, it's fine.
Okay? And the reasons behind what I'm going to say are a few years ago, I went with Greg to a meeting of the Crisis Center in Long Island. And I met people who were to change my way of seeing the world. I didn't know that she was being honored. All I knew was there was this very pleasant, actually beautiful young woman and a young man with a head of blonde hair that I would kill to have. And we got to talking, and he quietly listened. And whenever I went to those meetings, I liked everybody there. I felt safe because it is that kind of an organization. My friend Hernan and my son and other people I love have been members for a long time. And Tammy, years later, because we became very close, she's the reason why my grandchild made my website. We talk about the threads that bring people together. And Tammy said that the universe intended for people to meet who must meet because they belong to each other. And it's true. It's true. It's how I met Eric. And everybody in this painting was going to be in there because they changed my life. And then the trucks are gone, and I want to finish the painting. And so, what am I going to do? I'm going to change it to my city of Long Beach. First, I decided, this is the past. What made me go to the Lower East Side? And when Joey drove me down the Williamsburg Bridge, why when she said to me, where should I go? I said, stop right here. And when Eileen and Paula and Kenny went with me to the Lower East Side to photograph the buildings of the 41 paintings that I had done in that area, and they were all gone, I suddenly realized the universe brought me here. When I said, Joni, stop right here. And the universe brought me here to memorize and put into history my city of Long Beach. When my parents first came here to buy a house, when Long Beach was down and out, and you could buy something for next to nothing, my mother, again, the universe brings something. Some way off relatives who lived in Long Beach had a party, and my parents went there. The relatives they scarcely knew. And on the way home, my mother said to my father, "Jack, we're going to buy a house here." And he said, "Why?" And she said, "Because when I'm old, I don't want to sit on a cement sidewalk on a green chair or a green bench in front of an apartment building. I want to be where there is grass. I want to be surrounded by flowers." And he said, "But that's crazy. We live right next to the park. Nobody takes care of me the way the building does." But she said, "Jack, please." So we bought the house when it was affordable. If you tried to buy in Long Beach now, you couldn't afford it. Not since the pandemic drove people out of the city to be here. And I'm going to make this be a homage to my city of Long Beach. First, the people who matter. First of all, I'm going to be in touch with City Hall and speak to Gina Buma, who has been my friend and is in another painting already. Because when I call City Hall, I speak to her. I'm going to ask her to give me the people whom I no longer know. Because when Eric was young, before he passed away, he belonged to the city. He had a business here. He was on the boards. Yeah, he loved it. And I'm going to find out who matters now. The people I know so far, Harvey Wiesenberg, in my mind, he and his wife Ellen were, in my case, when I started to draw people with special needs, the threads in the needlepoint of my painting life were when a man wrote an article to the newspaper asking for volunteers to teach his son how to walk. The name was Savitz, and we became very close friends with the Savitzes. And I got to know Greg and loved him and brought my children there to work with him when I couldn't do it as well as they could. What they did, they took our dog, and Joni would stand at one end with our dog, and Kenny would stand on the other end. And Craig had to creep and crawl so many times all day. And he was so tired, but the rules were he had to. These were the only people who gave any help to children with special needs. And so he would crawl eagerly to the one who had the dog, kiss the dog, and crawl back again. And when I had tried that, one day a truck went by while I was having him creep and crawl. I was very commanding. I said, "You have to do it." And a garbage truck went by, and he wanted to see the garbage truck, and I said, "No, you have to crawl." And he began to cry, and I held him, and we both cried together. And after that, he wouldn't work with me anymore. And that's when I took Joni and Kenny, and they took the dog, and it worked. And after that, I became very involved with teaching children of special needs. I don't know what the word is they use now because words change all the time. But when I began to draw them, Harvey gave me entrance to all the organizations, and I was able to draw the children. And I want Harvey here, somewhere here, but it's going to be in the middle. And I spoke to his daughter Vicky today, and she's going to send me photographs of Ricky and wheelchair, and above all of Ellen. Ellen and Harvey and Eric and I met so often and spoke of what we need to do. Harvey even works on getting correct pay for the people who take care of his child and other people. They are amazing. And I said to my son, how do I put Ellen in? She's not alive anymore. I can't put posters of her, not with food trucks. And I asked Kenny, and he said, no, put her in. As she was. I said, but she's not alive anymore. And he said, who cares? She is alive in people's minds. If you finish the painting this year, and somebody sees it 6 years from now, the memory of her is still there with everybody. Put her in. So I spoke to Vicky, Harvey's daughter, and she agreed completely. And she's sending me photos. And then I said to Kenny, for me, the driving force was behind the paintings and the need to tell people that the world must go on, that there are enough good people in it. Newspapers only tell of the hate. We have to tell the other. So Eric was my guiding light throughout that. And I said to my son, and to Joey, to my daughter, I said, how could I not put Eric in? And they said, you have to. How could I put Eric down without a dog? He didn't think a home was a home if it didn't have a dog. And I wanted him near Jessie because the two bonded so. I'll have to work it out. And this is the city manager, Donna Graydon. And when I needed a photograph of her as she sees herself, look what I got. Somewhere or other, no matter whom I will do in this painting, everybody's eye goes to her and says, and who is that? And I said, it's our city manager. And I think I will have to stop now because of the time.
Although there are some things to read to you.
Yes, oh, please read me a few things.
I will. I'll read you all the rest.
Kenny asked if I would have enough in this painting to talk about. I could speak of it for years.
Mm-hmm. So Eileen said, we love Kent. And Kent, when he heard about being painted in, he said, wow, and he gave you a big heart.
Kenny, lower the mask just for me.
Sure.
So I can hear.
So Kent, when he heard that you were going to paint him in, he gave a big heart and he said, wow. And then Michelle said, very wise, Greg. It is hard to listen to uncomfortable social and political opinions. And then Eileen said, you are you. And then she said, ignore that last comment, Hedy. You are patient and kind and a great example for those neighbors. I really did run after that bathroom experience. Maybe there's hope for them. It is so and said, I'm honored to have been drawn to you, Hedy. Thank you for the privilege and dignity to give yourself much. And I said, it's so true that you've always known where big feet. You've always trusted the universe and where you landed. Your parents knew it, and now your children do too. Green grass flowers, green grass flowers in the ocean is a perfect destiny. And Michelle says, God bless your mother. She spent a long, beautiful life in Long Beach. I remember her well. And Michelle says, love you, Hedy and Kenny, and we love you too. Anything you want to say in closing?
We're closing.
Yeah.
I want to say I need all of you to make the world better, because we're on a path of destroying ourselves. The Ukraine has gotten to me because I was a refugee, and I don't even like to call myself one because I escaped so much. And the universe needed me, I think, because of the Lower East Side paintings. But maybe it'll need me to show Long Beach as the city I love. Because when I first came here, it was not integrated. And I see it slowly beginning. And we must, because we're missing so much when we narrow ourselves into a small space. I would not trade my life with anybody's, because I own all the space. I love you. Thank you.
And last comment, Elena says, we love you, Hedy. Thank you.
Who did?
Elena Giorgio.
Oh, Kenny, she's my neighbor. She's going to be in the painting. Bye-bye, everybody. I'm wiping tears, but this was emotional.